It's okay. The prophecy has come true.
Can you help us?
What does your heart tell you?
من هو ملك المجد؟
Get out of the way!
I'm gonna go to the deli.
Nope.
No!
Or maybe he was too much for them.
It's a bird! It's a plane!
And we walk, and we find God in Long Island.
No one really knows that Albert choreographed like half of that thing. He won't admit it, but that's exact. I mean, half of those moves he just came up with on his own. Everyone was involved in this thing. You know, everyone from, you know, child to adult. It represented who we were, because a lot of the folks who were taking part in it had moved away, moved on, and we came back to work on this. It was about highlighting all the qualities that we love about Abuna, and it was also about highlighting the things that we learned from him.
We are blessed to have this spacious place in the church, and the new building, and the new church, and the new families. I feel so blessed that the church is growing, and I know that God is never sending people to His house without a purpose.
I think it's incredible. I think, you know, it's natural for a church to grow and progress and become stronger and more united.
Being someone who was a part of this church from when we were next to IHOP, renting a church in Hicksville, from that point to being here at this church, watching it being built, it's an amazing thing. It's very exciting.
It's weird now thinking back, like we would spend all our time in just that little hall downstairs, and now we have double the size of that, and we still can't find enough space with all the amount of building and land we've just added on. But I don't know, the fact that we went from such a little small, tight space to this huge building is amazing, and I love how we all work together and stay together through all of this.
You know, for the church in the beginning, I remember the church used to be very small groups, you know, and it used to be only one classroom for Sunday school. The Sunday school started by Hana Ibrahim, and of course she was like new graduate with that Sunday school, and we thank her for that. And now we have Sunday schools for every stage. And that time it used to be the families less than 100, and when it came over 100, 100 or 120, we started thinking about having like another priest. Now, God bless the church, we're, 2 churches upstairs and downstairs, and we have the gym. We expanded a lot, which is very nice to see that.
Amazing. I mean, I can't imagine what else we're going to do in another 20 years.
And also I noticed something very interesting, that Father Girgis sometimes he sees the church all Egyptians, and then he speaks in Arabic. But as soon as he noticed one American-speaking person, he switched right away into the English. So right away they feel like they are welcomed. They are part of the church. They are being recognized by the priest, the head of the church, which is very nice.
There's a peacefulness about this place, about this church, and there's a understanding that it's an individual relationship that we each need to have with Christ. And I think through all my life changes and through growing up, it's not about the building, it's not about the people, it's not about all the changes that might be going on in the church. It's honestly just about a relationship with Christ. And I feel like in this place, in St. Abraham's, Long Island, the focus here is, what is your relationship with Christ? And I think that's a credit to both Abuna.
I feel like I have like a duty for the church. I feel like if I'm not there, there's going to be a piece missing in the church. I am a part of a bigger picture, what keeps me coming back.
What we really see at church that isn't there anywhere else is Christ himself. And that starts first and foremost on the altar. As each one of us becomes part of that, we begin to see Christ in each other as well.
So what has kept me around is this is where home is. And I know there are lots of Coptic churches elsewhere, and that's great for the Coptic community in general. But for me, this is where I'm comfortable with. This is where home is. This is where everything sort of clicks together.
It didn't feel like there were like groups or cliques, which I always like, because even though everyone has those people they're closer to, I feel like everyone here gets along, so I really like that.
The camaraderie and the friendships and Abuna's guidance, we really looked forward to going to church every Friday and Sunday. Now that I have 4 children, believe it or not, I want the same for them.
When I was in college, I would take a lot of my weekends and come home way more than all my other friends did. And, as I'm embarking on the next step in my life and getting married and, hopefully again, I'm going to be moving away, but, the weekends I'm coming home are going to be extra special now.
I really feel blessed, to tell you the truth. I think that I didn't, of course, grow up in this religion, and one of the characteristics of this religion is a married clergy, and that brought insight into the dynamics of family life that were really significant. I think that the church cultivated the development of the children within the church, that there were not just interested adults, but there was somebody who was a little ahead of you in school who took an interest in you. And I know that my children still today keep contact with those older people who were, gave the wisdom of the schoolyard when they were still in the schoolyard themselves. And I think that's a real treasure of the Coptic Church.
Until today, my son lives in Charlotte, North Carolina, but is in touch with Abuna Girgis. Abuna Girgis for him is something else. And he, happily, Abuna Musa called him the last week, and he came to tell me, like, what a great guy.
To be honest, I think we have great priests. I want to say Abuna Girgis and Abuna Musa do whatever they take to modernize themselves to understand the youth. The reasons that I always tell people that I would never move away or never want to switch churches is because that's a rare thing that you'll never find.
Abuna is my father. And when I say my father, not only father means I listen to him and obey, but he is also my friend, my close friend. I learned a lot. I'm still learning from Abuna G. And for me, he will remain my father.
Actually, I've known Abuna Musa around 1984, 1985. Abuna Musa is my brother and my son.
Buna Musa, for example, like changed Africa, you know, like that's not something you could say about every priest, you know what I mean? Like, I can't even have a conversation with somebody who speaks a different language, but he was like, you know, speaking to people in Kenya and converting them. And so I think that's huge. Like, we have that.
Probably people don't see, but from also a deacon standpoint, there's always something that could go wrong or something that does go wrong, and many people just don't notice it, but by the grace of God, it just passes over, no problem.
Especially from the worker here, because I saw the worker here in the construction and electricity and everything here during the new construction and new building. I saw them and I spoke to them about God, about the cross, about Jesus, about everything in our church. They were very happy, and that's my happiness to speak about God.
The community and the service and the taratil and the Sunday school and the retreats and all the events that you guys do here. Christianity and spirituality is a living spirit, and I see them living the word here.
At the very beginning, we wanted to build the church, so we sat down with the treasurers and we said how much we have. So they said all we have is this much money. So we broke it down as much as the money that we have, you know, to be able to finish the project. And that would have took like 5-6 years and maybe more. Engineer Jimmy said, Baba Yeshua will build his church. I laughed. I laughed loud. I said, Baba Yeshua will build his church. If you don't have the money, you know, before you build a structure, you gotta calculate the cost. That's engineering. And it's even in the Bible. And when I heard that, I was a little embarrassed that my faith was this little much, you know, compared to what he's saying, and I couldn't absorb it. And one day, someone from the church, he came about and he said, well, I have a suggestion. We could build the church in one piece. And I said, how? That's impossible. Math doesn't add. What we have in our pocket doesn't add. And I said, no, I have a good idea. We could collect from the people, how much people get from the banks, how much interest. People have money laying around and they get 0.25%. No, you offer the people 3%, 4%. 3 weeks later, the project was proposed, and one day Abuna declared, people, we don't want more money. We have more than what we need.
I see God in my life every single day. Through everything I have has been such a huge blessing, and I thank Him countless times. He's been so incredible to me and my family through my marriage, my parents, my life, my home, my career. But the biggest thing for me has been my son. He's been the biggest miracle.
Being in law enforcement, you see the worst in people, you see the best in people, and there are times that I say that there's only one way this could have came out. Yeah, only one way this could have came out good, and that's divine intervention.
Every time on a retreat, for example, we have small groups, we split up into pairs where people aren't afraid to, you know, kind of open up. I think you always hear things from people that amaze you in these small groups. People like open up and they're honest and they're vulnerable, and it brings the whole group closer together. As a byproduct, kind of just everybody's like, oh, they feel safe. You start to see like God in the middle of a circle. It's every single time.
When Ramiz Habib was diagnosed with leukemia, and we had just a huge blood drive for him, it was just it really blew me away. Meanwhile, I would imagine a good amount of us didn't know him that well, and yet we were all so eager to just do the cheek swab, see if we can help him out. And it's times like that where like the church community is a really powerful thing.
Kenya 2012 was, I think, a really life-changing trip for a lot of people, because I think we had heard a lot about Kenya from Abuna Musa and other sources, but I think like seeing it firsthand really made a huge impact in all the people that went. Like Mike Ibrahim, he and this small group walked into a house and to a hut really, and they saw a boy laying down on a couch, and he was clearly really, really sick, a young boy. And Abuna Musa had a conversation with the mother, and the mother had said that the boy had been really sick for a long time, and they didn't have any money. I remember being back at the hospital in Maseno, and I remember seeing Mike Ibrahim coming back with this boy in his hands, and he carried him out of the van, and he brought him into the hospital. The hand of God was so palpable in that the Holy Spirit really made us do things that I don't think a lot of people, I just can't imagine a lot of people doing.
I'll mention one name, George Vasali. Abuna came up to him that morning and he said, "George, I want you to prepare a sermon." And Munmun looked at all of us and he's like, "I don't know what to do." I'm like, "What do I do?" And I don't know what happened, but it was one of the best sermons I've ever heard. And just to see him be so unprepared beforehand and go in and just speak pure wisdom, and it was something incredible.
We were on the Bronx trip and a girl came that was in contact with Abuna Musa, and she was converting to Christianity. They just pointed at her and they were like, "Just share your testimony, like on the spot." And she wasn't prepared and she'd never done that before, but then she just started talking and like the whole room was moved. You could just see like the Holy Spirit like speaking through her, and it was like amazing, and right away the barrier was broken.
Did you know the geese? When they come here to visit us at the church every summer, and I said they are making the driveway and everywhere dirty, and I thought to run after them. Suddenly, one of them, they flipped out and ran after me. I seen it on the TV.
The mowing mobile is the tractor trailer truck we used to have, and that's the signal that everyone knew that the Mowads were here. It's this big truck. You can't miss it, and if you do, you're blind.
One of my favorite memories are probably all the games that we play. I remember my dad specifically was very creative with games. I had like one game with a nail in the construction hat, and you had to like pop
a water balloon into the cup with collect the water.
And one time during Easter liturgy, so everybody was facing the south when we were doing our 400 matanyas. It was time to be facing the south. Each just happened to take the picture, and I'm facing the north because I'm holding the icon in front of Abuna. And in the picture, you cannot see the icon. You can't see anything of me except for just me facing the complete opposite direction of everyone else.
The time where I was a camp counselor for the summer retreat, and we went to the pool over here in Syosset Park, and Bishoy, aka Turkey, aka Bishoy, the most annoying kid ever back then, was really bothering me in the pool to the point where I dunked him over and over in the pool, and he ended up vomiting in it. And they closed the pool and kicked us all out, and we weren't allowed back there again.
I'd have to say some of my fonder memories are with the basketball team, the Koibel team that we had over here. We've all come to really, really dislike Staten Island as a result of that league. I don't think any of us have ever been anywhere near the Verrazano Bridge since that.
Paired up with great team, Pierre, Paul Kust, Pierre Girgis, Paul Kust, Nadia Kust, and Mona Abdel Masih. And we made a group throwing up names, and then we chose Trinity.
Cool. Trinity was cool because it was definitely a project that started at St. Abraham's Church that had an impact way beyond St. Abraham's Church. Henat was the visionary. And it was cool because we had all these great opportunities, and the church really supported us.
Every decision we went through with the architect, we always say, what they're gonna do? I mean, if they don't like it or whatever. And we always say, instead of the saints' pictures, they're gonna hang 3 of us on the front of the building.
I remember on the retreat in middle school, Abuna Musa came with a pillowcase down the aisle. And a few of my slick friends, we brought flip phones, and we put the flip phones into the pillowcase, and we got to keep our phones on that retreat.
I remember one time I was like, I don't know, 18 or something, and it was at the Friday meeting. And usually before the Friday meeting actually started, before the Bible study actually started, before prayers and hymns, we all would basically go to the Woodbury Deli and get some snacks. I went to the Woodbury Country Deli and I saw this this old-fashioned cola bottle. It's kind of cool looking, you know, old-fashioned Coke. So I got it. The problem with that I didn't realize, but Abu Nagigis saw it from a mile away, was that the bottle looked exactly like a beer bottle. He come up to me and he's like, "Radu, انت بتشرب بيرة في الكنيسة?"
Yeah, I have a lot of advices to the youth of the church.
But yes, I was behind a lot of the nicknames. Not all of them, and not alone, right? Because for a nickname to start, this is something that most people don't know, and this is inside info. For a successful nickname, one person has to start it, a second person has to ratify it. If one person just says it and no one else says it, it'll never catch on. But the second person number two says it, it will. I'll give you an example. Marinen. Why would that catch on? But it did. Turkey, tax, schemo, greed. I mean, I can go through many, many names. So the most important thing, if you want to start a nickname in this church, have someone else ratify it.
Get involved. Get involved more. We have talents. We have a lot of talents in our youth. I think it's time to get involved.
Tell them, number one, don't be scared to be Christians. As Christ said, you are the salt of the earth. You are the light. You don't need too many lamps to light a room. You need one lamp in a room. So even at your school or at your work, when you find yourself the only Christian or the only one who's supposed to do the right thing, don't be scared to do it.
My request is that we take care of the language, and don't tell me it's not our language. We are originally Egyptians. Tie them to their origin. Let them know who they are.
Number two, you don't know how much can God do with you. Like if you really give Him the chance to lead your life, you're going to be surprised how great things can happen through you.
But I think that the wise man built his house upon the rock. The time you dig down, build on Christ in any way.
Number three, I think the main obstacle is selfishness. Don't put your needs as number one. Put God as number one. And as He promised, all this is going to be given to you. Seek first the kingdom.
What I like about the new church is that it's like, I like how it looks and how it is.
What can be added to make it more fun?
I don't know.
Nothing?
A castle house. A bouncy house, I mean. Bye! We'll see you in the next show!
Thank you guys for watching. I just wanted to talk about really quickly why I did the video, why I was inspired with Olivia to make this video. As our church grows, as we get all these new bells and whistles and we get a new gym and we get a bigger church, the foundation has always been the same, and that is God, and that's always been God. Second reason was I want to show the youth that we are standing on the shoulders of giants. There are really brilliant, amazing people that have come through this church. People who have served, people who have given a lot to make sure this church grows. And we need to remember those people. And I think we need to know their stories. And I think we need to know who they were and why they did it and how much it meant. You know, recently we lost someone very important to a lot of different people. And, you know, I didn't really know him too much. I didn't really have a conversation with him, but I know what he's done for me. And I know what he's done for this church. And I know that every time we walk into this gym, and every time we walk into the upstairs church, and every time we see the downstairs church and everything it's become, we need to know his story. We need to know his name. We need to know his face. All the love and passion and dedication that went into this movie, it's for people like that. It's for him. So just remember Remember it all.
I just want to tell you that I started to receive the paperwork of the church, of this church, that Magid was doing. And there are 10 full boxes of documents and papers. I don't know, like I feel he did much more than anyone can imagine.